We've got Florida Congressman Allen West with us right now on what he makes of this race, and particularly what's going on in that battleground state of Ohio. We're going to get to your state, Florida, soon, Congressman, but in Ohio, it's almost dead even. What do you make of the pitch that this team is making before coming to Tampa?
Well, I think their pitch is about what the fundamental values should be of this country, especially our fundamental economic values. We have to once again have tax and regulatory policies and access to capital policies that says the United States of America is open for business, for our small businesses as well as for our corporations and businesses. And that's not what we're seeing here from this administration. When you talk about raising taxes on just those top tax brackets, right now to 33%, that will go to about 36-37%, and the 35% bracket that will go to 39.6%, that affects your small business owners. When you put on top of that the things that are coming from the health care law, such as fines if you grow your business above 50 employees, we're not promoting their success, and we're not promoting the expansion and the growth and the startups of small businesses. And when you look at what you will get if you just increase the taxes on those top two brackets, it's only about $85 billion per year, and with the spending frenzy that you well know that we have in Washington, D.C., that only funds the government for about 10 days. So it's just a political gimmick. This whole thing about raising taxes does not do anything for this country at this point in time when our GDP growth from second quarter was 1.5%. That's anemic, and when you compare that to where Ronald Reagan was back in coming out of that recession, he was at 7.1% GDP growth. So it's all about the right tax and regulatory policies. They know that in Ohio. We know that down here in Florida as well.
Congressman, you mentioned the statistics and the numbers and the economic argument for Republicans very well, as does Governor Romney, as does Paul Ryan. The thing that bedevils this ticket, for good or ill, is its proverbial likability. We hear a good deal made of that. I often think too much, but it must explain why the president is even, despite all these economic concerns and worries you raise, because on that score, Americans favor him. Polls indicate 2-1 as the more likable guy. Does Mitt Romney have to make a case on that front next week?
Of course he does. I think that it's very important that he introduces himself to America and he defines himself. But let's be very honest and let's put that in some military vernacular. If you're feeding a person a crap sandwich with a smile, it's still a crap sandwich. And I think that's what you see coming from President Obama. He's fed America just a load of you-know-what, and it has not done anything for this country than increasing our unemployment, increasing Americans in poverty, increasing the food stamp rolls, and we're heading in the wrong direction. When you look at a budget that he produces that talks about a balanced approach, raising $1.9 trillion in new taxes, but it never balances. As a matter of fact, all it goes to is 53% growth of the federal government. So I think it is very important that we win the image war. There's no doubt about that. The personality, the persona, you have to define yourself, but you also have to stay on message, on track, because the American people are suffering under these failed economic policies.
Do you think, and this is always a mug's game here, Congressman, that this ticket needs to get a bump badly out of this convention? Typically it could be anywhere from 5 points or so in the polls because of the proximity of the next convention. It's no more do they have the wind behind their back, we hope not literally with this storm, than the next convention. So he needs to score a poll gain very quickly, and it's got to be substantial. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, if you want to put it in a baseball terminology, you got to go deep center field out of the park, hit a grand slam, because you want to have so much momentum that you do overshadow the Democratic convention in Charlotte, which if it's going to focus on war on women and some social issues and things of that nature, that's not what American people are talking about at their tables. They're not talking about Mitt Romney's tax returns. They're not talking about working at bank capital. They're talking about how did they survive. When you look at the simple fact that on Inauguration Day, gasoline prices in America were $1.84 on average, and now we have gasoline prices closer again to $3.71. Those are the simple type of things we have to be able to articulate with the right type of image and just say, look, this is the vision that we have for our country, to make us, once again, get us to go in energy independent, to develop the full spectrum of our energy resources, to once again talk about individual sovereignty and individual industrialism, which promotes the indomitable entrepreneurial spirit that made this country what it is in 37 years. So that's the important thing that we have to articulate so that we get way ahead of the Democrats, because they don't have a message. It's all failing. This liberal progressive socialism that they're trying to promote is really taking this country into a doldrum, and we haven't even talked about our national security.
Congressman, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Neil.